Oh.
All right.
Real opinions.
No edits.
This is the All Things Go podcast, and we got a special guest here today.
This a bullet pass. Catch it, get hit, or let the bullet pass. I be the child of reckless records in Wu-Tang Triumph. I bomb hydrogen with nitrogen in my writing pen, so you ain't gonna ask who I'm nicer than. Your eyes is on ISIS, where ice is. My eyes is closed, projecting Osiris on my eyelids, and when my eyelids lift, I still see hieroglyphs. But I keep the corner in my cornea. I got the block on my view. I wanna change it, but white supremacy keeps blocking the view. Keeps the drugs and the Glocks in my view, so I start to think of the Pac and his juice. How when he held to steal was only held to steal, then it was held to steal. So with his gun control, when guns control us, and we do hold-ups and hold-up progression, instead of running up in Congress and holding up a session, because me are not free, and we pretend to Nazis, not me, cut me, and I will not bleed my blood. It's concentrated karma, bringing chaos beyond my karma, trying to exercise these monsters through meditations and mantras, because some mornings I wake up God, or scream loud enough to wake up God, but I swear these hymns don't reach him, but I know he's up there, where else my niggas going? The river Styx still flowing, unless black bodies have become a dam, and I'll be damned before I'll be damned. I sit somewhere between silence, violence, and insanity. I even tried to find some peace today. Tried to put this piece away, but don't want to be a piece of prey, so how do I put my peace away? This is not what I entered for, what I write a sentence for, but with racial relentless war, I'm feeling insecure, Issa Rae. And every holiday is a holiday. The difference between taking shots and taking shots, why his vodka begun to taste less like a lake of fire and more like holy water. Why they tell me with liquor I could drown my sins, but didn't tell me that my sins could swim. And they do laps till I collapse, and as soon as I relax, they relapse. Feels like being black as a crack, and the time continues, so we continue to crack on crack. I had somebody ask me, is your poetry deep? I told him, yeah, about 6 feet.
That was a round of applause, like, God.
Yes, thank you for blessing us with that.
You all right?
Yeah, I'm good.
Oh, all right.
Look, we take it back.
Snap right
So
back.
tell the people who you are.
My name is BLACKCHAKRA. I am a spoken word champion.
Y'all heard.
Multiple times in this competitive thing we call slam. #1 ranked competitive poet in America.
Okay.
Wow, that's amazing.
Y'all heard that.
And in Baltimore.
He said what he
Yes.
said. He said.
What poets will have something to say about that?
Ones who've lost to me.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay. Period. Where's the next competition?
I'm supposed to go to New York next week. They've put this team together to go against Baltimore's team.
You feel like that's wet? Because your face expression is like...
I'm not interested.
Yeah.
But they're paying, so I'm
So
going.
you're still going. Okay. So
Why-
why you not interested? You feel like there's no competition?
No, certain competition doesn't interest me.
Okay.
The bigger the money, the more interested I get.
Okay.
When you say it's a $5,000 competition, I'm on my way. You say $2,500, I'm on my way. You say you can win $400 doing this, I don't give a fuck about that shit.
So if this one paying, but you're not interested, why? Like...
It's not
the
paying
money
enough.
ain't that. The
Money ain't that. Money
Oh,
ain't
the
that.
money not
Don't get me
there.
wrong.
Okay.
When we do it, I'm gonna pay a bill, but I'm not
gonna
paying
pay.
enough bills to want to go do it and shit
Okay.
like that.
But you still and you're gonna win.
Yeah, for me, I do poetry because I enjoy poetry. I enjoy writing. I enjoy performing. But I can do that here. I can go to an open mic in Baltimore and do that. When I travel across the country, I'm very much not a poet and I'm a hitman. I'm here to collect heads and take the money.
Okay.
Like when I go to a slam, I need my money. Y'all niggas is obstacles. So the fact that there are obstacles in the way of my money is already stressful enough. But I write and perform in a manner that allows that not to be as big of an obstacle as it is for some. But it's still like aggravating because I still have to do all this travel and stuff. It's like, oh, if each one of y'all gonna get paid $300. That ain't shit to me, man. That ain't nothing. Can't even.
Well, let's toast to his next victory.
Yes.
Thank you. Hopefully.
Because he said he got this in a bag.
No, not hopefully.
Cheers.
For real. How you looking like that?
Man, cocky, man. What got you into this, bro?
So in high school, I battle rapped a lot, and the battle rap culture was something I was into. The competitive nature of things is always interesting for me. Like I'm also like the same way I'm here, like with poetry. I'm the same way when it comes to like movie quizzes and shit. Like I'm a monster at like movie trivias.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
What's your favorite movie?
Dark Knight 2008. Directed by Christopher Nolan, second in the Batman trilogy.
Oh, you be knowing
wow.
all the facts.
Came out August of 2008.
Why? but why though? Like, what make you get into like? I don't even know. That's a category. Movie trivia, like.
Oh man,
It's a big category.
oh yeah. My father's a big movie fan. My mother's a big movie fan. So I grew up watching a lot of film, and I learned a lot of storytelling from cinematography. Like I might watch a movie and hear a line, and I'm just like, that is a poem right there. So I take a lot of my inspiration from films. Or yeah, so I might be like, what does a movie look like on a page, or how can this poem be as epic as this movie? So like I'm competitive when it comes to that too. So I love hip hop, I loved battle rap, but I didn't like standing in front of black people and telling them I was gonna kill them. That shit felt like it was taxing to my spirit. So I was like, I gotta find some way to compete. And once I found out about slams, this competitive competition between poets, and I was like, you mean ain't no nigga gonna get in my face? Cause you know I done battle rap, niggas I'ma kill you motherfucker, I'ma shoot you. Shit don't bother me. Ain't none of them niggas that hurt ain't put their hands on me. It's not a big fucking deal. But niggas will have their crew and they'll have guns and knives and they'll be crazy as shit. But I'm like, so you gonna tell me you gonna put my words versus your words, my bars versus your poems, and the audience gotta decide. And motherfuckers told me this shit wouldn't work. Oh, they used to look me, oh, no bullshit. They used to look me in my face and be like, oh, no, man, what you do, that ain't gonna work. Yeah, I learned that was just the jealousy. Anybody who tell you what you do ain't working, it's because they fear it. They saw it coming.
I got a question for you. So if I told you my favorite movie, could you do a freestyle to my favorite movie?
Yes, for money.
That's a good one.
If she don't pay up, she still owe me $100.
What is your favorite movie,
You
by the way?
lied, Pretty Woman.
Wow, I love Pretty Woman.
Pretty Woman.
Julia Roberts, Richard Gere,
Yeah.
1988.
It's old. Like, I don't know all that, but yeah, it's giving about that.
Classic.
Classic.
Have you ever lost a battle?
Several.
Oh, really?
I've won a lot of things in life, but I remember every single loss, which is why I win so much. Every L is a lesson. And every time I lose, that shit hurts because you get to a place where you think you've perfected yourself. You've mastered every way to not lose, to manipulate a victory, and then it happens. And then you have to sit on that loss. I lost a competition, I made it final stage, but I lost a competition in September. And that shit, I have not stopped writing for 2 months.
Did you know
This
you were
September?
going to lose? Or were you surprised that you lost? Like, did you think you was killing that shit? Or when they was doing that thing, you was like, damn, he fucking me up?
Oh, no. I've never lost to a single poet but me.
Okay.
What did the other poets bring? They brought poems, so did I. They brought performance, so did I. So if my performance isn't better than theirs, whose fault is that? Mine. If my poem isn't better than theirs, whose fault is that? Mine. So the only person I have ever had to beat is me. The only person who's ever beaten me is me. That being said, I don't think it was more so I think their poems were better, my poem wasn't. I think I made a calculated mistake in the first round. I used a poem that's really good, and it got me to finals. Everybody in that round died. Everybody was like, okay, man, you got it. You got the best poem. But once I got to finals, I was like, that was the poem I needed.
Should have used for the final.
Exactly. And then when so like, that shit stressed me out. But what it also taught me was like, you need more poems in that final situation. I have 3 poems that I think will always clinch a victory for me. I won't discuss what those 3 poems are on camera, because fuck y'all. That being said, when I do those 3 poems in any order, I usually win.
Yeah, okay.
And I have poems I do in the prelims that get me to finals. Somebody really talented, this amazing poet, had went right before me. So I was like, they're gonna make everybody go crazy. So I'm gonna have to answer them. And then they didn't even make everybody go crazy, so I used it for nothing.
Yeah.
So
Is it a difference between going first and then going last?
serial positioning effect is what they call it. When you're first, you set the bar.
Yeah.
So you kind of create people's standards. But when you go last, you're the freshest in everybody's head. So
you've done both.
oh yeah, absolutely. I've been
You prefer?
I prefer middle.
In the middle, yeah.
Yep.
And I think I would want to be the last and just drop mic.
Boom. And that works sometimes. But if you've left people shaking from the middle, so we have a thing in Baltimore when it comes to competitive poetry strategy called the pendulum. Let's say, there's a little blade, or, they're on clocks, these little pendulums that swing. If somebody does a whack poem, they tap the pendulum. They tap it, they tap it, they tap it, and nobody's really pushed the pendulum yet. I do a powerful poem, I swing the pendulum. And if the next 2 to 3 people don't got a powerful poem, they all get sliced in half. So everybody who comes after me is now out of the competition. And I've done this from the one as well. From the last place, now they're going to compare you to everything that they've heard. But from the middle, they're like, okay, we've gotten to like 4 or 5 people. We get an idea of what poetry sounds like. And that's where I shine the most. Wherever people think poetry sounds like, by the time you hear me, you're like, oh, yep, never mind, forget it. So that helps a lot.
So do you get your inspiration just from what you go through, or do you feel like you can get it from other, like you said, in the movies, or other in like kind of hone into other?
I get it from you.
From me?
I get it from him. I get it from her. I get it from everybody's personal Black experience. Okay. My work is specifically targeted towards talking about different facets of Blackness, different understandings that we have as a people. I think about what Black women go through on a daily basis. I think about what the average Black man go through on a daily basis. I think about how hard it is for y'all to say something and no one believes you. I think about how hard it is for someone like him to even talk about his feelings without people saying, oh, you some type of punk, or you the B word, shit like that. And I think about these mindsets and I try to like make understandings out of them. Even like getting on stage, like saying the things I say. You know, growing up, people used to tell me, oh, you can't be Black and saying shit like that. You know, they're going to get you. Who is they?
They
who is,
get
what
you.
Is,
Exactly.
I think we'll find out who they are.
So I have to kill this belief every time I get on stage because I have these students. If you want to know the way to euthanize a new generation of leaders is to make them afraid of death. The reason that there is no more Martin and Malcolm is because of what happened to Martin and Malcolm. So Black boys naturally assume the only Black men who are brave enough to stand in front of people and say something are rappers. But as a poet and as a teacher, I have to do more to like prove that you can go in front of these spaces and say what's on your heart, this political opinion, this emotional opinion. And for me, that's what drives me to write. I talk about like, I was watching poetry on YouTube for hours. This was like 2014, because I study. And there's one thing I didn't hear. I heard all types of poems. I heard some great poets. I heard some poets who was ass. And all I could think about is none of these people speak to people in Baltimore. None of these, there's not a single Baltimore nigga I know that would listen to this and be like, yeah, that shit hard. They be like that. So because of that, I said nobody is translating the experience of a young Black boy growing up in the urban aesthetic perfectly on spoken words. And the ones who are, they're not getting any attention, which is why I started competing. So I was like, okay, you don't have to pay me attention. I'm gonna beat all your asses and then you're gonna have to. So that being said, like that's what I write for, like talk about that experience, discuss what we've gone through, and try to like open up dialogue after I do a poem. Like, yeah, have you heard niggas say shit like this? Like, yes, yeah, because we've all been through similar experience. So Black people, basically where I get my prompts from.
Okay.
I got a question too. So how do you, like, do you feel like you properly represent the Black woman because you're not a Black woman? So, you know how like they say, men and women think differently. You get what I'm saying? Like, you know, men are from, what is it? Men are from Mars, women from. So
Venus.
how do you? So how do you feel like? Do you feel like you do a good job of properly representing Black women?
I would say this: when representing Black women, of course, there's a depth of knowledge that I could never understand because I do not identify as a Black woman and I've never lived that experience.
But you could if you wanted to nowadays.
That's the world we live in. But I will say that what I can do is speak to my understanding. Like, I've never been through it, but I can imagine, you know, being a Black male is a very interesting existence. You come out the house and I cap my hoodie on. It's cold as shit today. So and I got my hair cut because y'all all look very nice and I would hate to look bummy around y'all. And I'm cold, so I put my hoodie on. And now, after I come out the barbershop, but now people are looking at me some type of way. I'm just like, it's cold.
Yo, that is so crazy
it's
that
crazy.
you said that. Because, yo, look, so my son he's preparing to get his license. So, you know, as a parent, you think of the things to tell him. And one of the things I thought was, tell him don't drive with his hood on.
Hood on, yep.
Ain't that
wow.
crazy,
Yeah,
though?
not for real.
It's an
crazy.
insane existence.
And this was my thought today.
But I mean, that's illegal.
He's home.
To drive with your
illegal to
hoodie?
drive with your hood
You
on?
can't drive with a hoodie on.
Or
Where's
slides.
that?
Is it
You
slides
can't.
too?
Now slides and like
I heard
barefoot.
because it could get caught.
But
Well, I thought it
nonetheless,
was
that
illegal
was
with
my
the hoodie.
thought. So I thought it was funny that you said, because
Yeah,
my
it's
thought
great,
was
yeah.
like, like tell him.
And this is a this is a difficult existence sometimes. I walk in a store. It doesn't matter if I have the money to pay for what's in the store. I get odd looks.
Yes.
Now,
I've got followed in the stores.
Yeah.
Like,
You?
Yes.
so when you think about this,
With
Even
your
my
bright
brother-
skin?
Yep, and my light skinned brother, he got it was a white boy in front of him, and they checked his. They didn't check his 20, but they checked my brother's 20. He's light skinned too. Don't matter.
so when you have that understanding of like what it's like to be a black male in society, now you think about that experience plus sexism. So there's a natural patriarchy and sexism that happens to women every day. Plus there's already the thing about your racism just being attracted to you because of your skin color. I gain a sympathy and an understanding, and then you work on checking your own patriarchy. You work on where you say the B word. You work on how you talk to women. You work on how you respect different people. So I would say the way I represent women is by showing them an understanding. Like, I respect what you're going through. And in certain poems, I talk about that. Now, I don't talk about it too much because I don't want to take up space. What I mean by taking up space is if there's a black woman poet in the room, she very much can talk about her experience, and I don't need to take up my time on stage talking about her experience. However, I do speak to what they're going through in certain pieces because I think it's important that a black man recognizes as well.
Definitely important.
And you said you teach, so how do you teach poetry? So what do you do as a teacher?
You don't teach poetry. You teach people to have fun. You teach people to love each other, and then you slide poetry in there.
Gotcha.
I have never been in a classroom. All right, kids, come in. This is simile, metaphor, double entendre, alliteration, allusion, hyperbole. Now master these. They come in my classroom. I'm usually listening to some hip hop. I ask them how their day was. We joke around. I say some inappropriate shit because I am more fucking childish than most of my students have ever been. And, Mr. Jacob, I don't like her. You shouldn't like her. She asked you shit.
Don't let them parents see you talking about their kids like that.
So what grade is this that you're
I teach high school.
Okay.
And which I love teaching high school because it's an interesting transition from youth to adulthood, and I like to be there in that transition because I've watched students figure out a lot of things, but it's also led me to some very, very difficult conversations. I've had to have conversations with students about whether they should have an abortion or not. I've had to have conversations with students about suicide, about relationships. It's been
It's a lot for them now. Man, kids be going through it.
but
Suicide and abortion, like which one you thought was worse? Like the conversation you had with the student.
believe it or not, the abortion conversation was way harder because I kept she was asking me, what do you think I should do?
That's like life altering.
Exactly.
You can always tell a person why they should not take their life, but to talk to a person about why they should or should not
But
Bring a life
hold
in.
on.
to the world.
The life ain't here yet. Suicide, the life is gone. Like that life ain't. I don't know how many months she was, but I mean.
So that's because you're
3?
a man, but it's a different experience to have
which is
life in your body.
Yeah.
Which is
Now
one of the
it's
reasons
gone.
I tell like the young ladies, I was like, I'm not the person who can tell you what to do in
But
this
believe it
scenario.
or not, no one is.
Yeah. No,
Exactly, and that's what I tell them. I'm like, this is your decision to make, whether you want to bring this life to the world. And I said, now, no matter what you choose, you'll have my respect. I don't look at no young woman as a thought or a slut or a hoe. I don't do
I
that.
think that's just amazing that they felt comfortable confiding in you.
Yeah.
You know?
I respect
good
them.
that they.
Yeah.
Hold up though, bro. Hold up though. You only got one life. You can't do it over.
Oh no, and I'm not saying
I'm saying far as the suicide versus that. Like
No, but so what I'm saying is
I
like,
can't come back after I kill
You
myself.
can't. But if you come to me and
You can have another baby.
But listen to what I'm saying. Listen to the point, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you come to me and you're the suicide is on your thoughts. They're your thoughts. I can tell you all the reasons in the world why you shouldn't do it, and there's nothing wrong. You get what I'm saying? It's like there's no mistake to that. But then somebody that's bringing that's a lot.
Are you
I'll
pro
say-
abortion?
I am pro your own whatever you want your choice to be.
I see it.
Whatever that is, but
I see it like this.
whatever you see best for yourself.
And I've had this conversation with multiple students because when you teach poetry, what you're actually doing is you're being a counselor.
Yeah.
And
that's
you're
what
a
you're
grief
saying,
counselor, you're a therapist. There was a situation with a young lady and a young boy at the school, a very inappropriate situation that she was brave enough to come talk to me about. And the moment she came and talked to me, I was like, as the man that you have told, would you like me to start telling other men to get this boy out of this school? Do you feel safe and stuff like that? So I started, first thing I do, go to the principal. I went to the football coach because the kid was on the football team. I did all this. And the officer of the school was like, well, I just want to know why she came to you, insinuating that there's something inappropriate going on with me and the youth. And I reminded him, I said, I'm the poetry instructor. Kids tell me the most uncomfortable things you couldn't imagine in their poems because you create a safe space. So for me, when I've had to have the conversation about suicide, you can often remind someone why they should be here.
Yeah.
I once had to tell a kid that I'm here because of you. I'm like, you are saving my life. You're my hero. You can't leave this earth because I need to know that you're doing well for me to do well. And that was enough for them. But whether you tell someone it's their choice or not with an abortion, they still have to live with that choice.
Right.
Like either they got to live with this child with somebody they possibly do not want to be with, or they got to live with the idea that they murdered it.
But I was supposed not even necessarily the other person, but just the responsibility of parenthood.
Yes,
that's a lot.
Yeah.
For a
For
teenager.
kid,
But see how he said
And I don't want to use the word murdered. I don't want to use the word murdered. I don't want to use the word murdered when I talked about abortion.
See how you said they
Because-
had to live with that choice? With suicide, you don't get to live with no choice. You gone. Ain't no choice to be made. You out of here.
You're missing the point.
So-
the point.
No, I
you're
think
missing-
y'all
what are you
missing the
saying?
point.
No, the
What are you
point
saying?
you're missing is him talking to a person, convincing them not to take their life, versus giving advice on whether a person should bring life
Life or
into
not.
this world or not. That's so much deeper. That's a whole mental game that you got to live with if you have an abortion, and that's a huge ass responsibility if you don't have abortion.
So, do you feel as though the Plan B pill is abortion?
No, I think it's preventative measure.
Yeah.
I don't think it's
not
preventative because
'Cause the nut already
if you're
swimming in you.
Yeah.
Y'all.
Listen. I
think
don't think it's preventative, but I feel like if that's what you need to do and that's what you want to do, take it.
a woman's body and what she does with it is her choice.
Yeah, I think so
I'm
too.
honored to be asked, but I will always lean towards their choice, and whatever they choose should be respected. Which
I got a question for you.
One of the questions I asked a young lady who was talking about this with me. She wasn't pregnant, but she was afraid she was, and she was like, "Maybe I do want a kid." And I said, "How would you feel if tomorrow somebody put a bag over your head, and then you woke up, and they handed you a gun?" And it's empty. The gun is empty. There's no bullets, no clip. And they're like, we got to go fight this war. And it's like, what do you mean? We don't got no food. We don't got nothing. But you going to help me fight this war, right? You'd be like, yeah. She was like, yeah, I'd be completely unprepared. I'd be confused. I said, well, yeah, bringing a child into this world when you are that unprepared can be like that for a child. They have no weapons to fight this war. They have no way to get these things. Now, not everybody has a child when they're prepared to, but some people built for that. Some women are just built for that.
Yeah, that is true. Because I was about to like debate with you when you said being prepared. But you're true. I do feel like some of us just have that instinct and it kicks in.
And there's some who are
of us
not.
just don't have it and it never kicks in for them.
I'm going to ask a question. Everybody raise a hand if you know a bad mother. Yeah. Those are the ones who are unprepared.
Yeah.
And if you're still questioning whether you should do it, I'm just like, listen, give yourself time. But whatever choice you make, you have my respect. And I think that's one of the reasons I have the relationship I have with my students, because they know I have respect for them. I don't treat students like children. I don't yell at them like, you shouldn't have done that. How dare you? I talk to them like adults, like, hey, have a seat with me. The way you spoke to that student when they were in the classroom, that was extremely inappropriate. You want to explain what you're going through? Are you hungry?
Exactly.
What's going on at home?
Exactly.
Why do you feel you have to be like that to another human being?
You want teachers like you.
Yeah, we definitely need teachers like you, and
Yeah, we
that's
should
great. I
teach
love
teachers.
that. But I have another question, and this, but it stems off of what you just said, sidebar. But you can answer this question too, because you say you support what women do with their bodies, blah, blah, blah. So as men, you guys are put in situations sometimes where a woman may be pregnant with your child, right? And you don't necessarily want her to have it. But you just said that you support women's decisions. Do you support it the same in that instance?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I was the one who chose to consummate with her. So whatever comes from it is my fault and my responsibility. And telling her to get rid of it is a disrespect that I could never fathom.
I'm waiting for your ignorant ass.
I'm not no bluffing nigga.
man.
I'm not gonna sit up here
You're a
and
good
say I
man.
ain't never tell a bitch to have an abortion. Like, no, I don't want that kid. Yeah, I've done it. I ain't want that kid. Fuck you mean? And I ain't got no kids. Obviously, she did that. They
So
did
you
that.
ain't supporting.
What happened?
So you ain't supporting.
It depends on the
You ain't being
person.
understanding.
It depends on the person. But I mean, once the kid come out, I mean, yeah, I gotta support it then. But it's things to do before we get there. You know, conversations.
I like your answer.
Cause he giving the political. I'm gonna meet the president one day answer. Man, no, I'm giving you the real shit. Like,
That's his real shit.
Now, and I'm not gonna say that me and E don't have the same
Yo,
fears.
let me tell you one thing about E.
What?
If you're a little wholesome, E ain't for it. He feel like
no,
it's
I like
bullshit.
this brother. I'm just saying, I'm always gonna tell
But
the
also,
truth, bro.
me
So
and,
why you feel like he ain't telling the truth?
I'm not saying he not. I'm just telling my truth.
and me and E don't stand on opposite sides of the spectrum. I've been scared too. There have been situations where I'm just like, I'm not ready to have a child. Where I thought, because my girlfriend's currently pregnant, and that's like the first child I've actually tried to have.
Congratulations.
Yes,
Thank you. So, and I'm 33, and I'm in a place in my life where I'm like, okay, I'm ready for this. But there were scares, and never in those moments did I say you should get an abortion. Was I scared? Hell yeah. Did I think it?
You
Absolutely.
ain't never paid for no abortion, bro.
No, never.
Y'all, well, I just think I need to say this now. I mean, I just feel
I
like
need a separate bank account.
It's the perfect time, and it's the All Things Go podcast, so fuck it. I'm pregnant, and I'm keeping it E. So what we gonna do?
You pregnant about well, you never consummated. I bring his good words out.
We have never, but
consummate.
That got so interesting. We got so quiet.
I know he's just like, all right.
Yo, I like to joke and play all the time.
I got scared.
E and I have never dated. We've never had sex.
E's face was definitely like,
But I just wanted to tell a joke.
I partakes in spirits. Like, did she rape me?
oh my God.
Did I have sex? Was I raped?
We haven't even been in no situation where I could have raped you. I just wanted to tell a joke. Psycho boy.
That was actually really funny. That was
I
actually
actually
really
have
funny.
a question too, though. So what do you teach? What's your class?
Well,
Like, what is it?
well, I teach different poetry clubs.
Okay.
Oh, that's cool. That club.
Okay.
Yeah, but also I teach in like multiple schools all throughout Baltimore. I also teach in,
Okay.
I've taught in juvenile facilities. I've taught in rec centers, churches,
And
wherever
how did you
they.
get into teaching?
I like teaching. It is my favorite thing to do.
People be hating kids though, so like.
Oh, I do too. I do too. I despise them. But the kids in poetry club, they chose to be there.
Yeah, so that's a different experience.
I know what it's like. I know what it's like that I've sat in the classroom. Very much like a black Breakfast Club. You ever seen The Breakfast Club? It's a movie from the 80s.
Oh.
I don't really remember it. But
So it's about
Seen
these.
Breakfast Club?
I've seen it. I just don't really remember.
So it's about these different kids. You got the kid. He's basically a thug in the school. You got the nerd. You got the
the
jock.
girl with the red hair.
Yep, she was like the popular girl, and then there's the weird girl. I have sat in classrooms with those kids, and they are the poetry club. Because the jock has something to say. Because the popular girl has something to say. Because the goth kid has something to say. The nerd has something to say.
The goth kid.
And
I was gonna ask if they had golf kids.
golf kid.
oh yeah, definitely. And
You
it's
know what that made me think of? ATL though. Remember when he was going to the
Oh, the
school like
golf.
far away? And they was like, I'll get finished. I'm sorry.
but what you see is there are these different opinions, but it's a leveling. Because never did you think that the kid who they like, oh, he should be suspended, he should be expelled, he shouldn't go here no more. But once you hear how he does a poem, people are like, oh, there's something different about him. Yeah, I'm like, yeah,
Because they normally just misunderstood.
exactly. But also, you got to remember, hip hop was built by teenage black boys and teenage black girls. Like, these were kids.
Well, that ain't what Fat Joe said, but go ahead.
So because of
Fat
that,
Joe said.
So because of that, I'm not shocked when black youth are talented. I just give them a room and a place to
feel
showcase
safe
it.
in.
But you got this kid who's like rough around the edges, who like go hard as hell, and then you got this nerd girl who go hard as hell lyrically, and they just looking at each other like, I never would have thought that you do this on the level that I do, and it creates this respect where people aren't looking at like, oh, you're this status, you're this status. They're looking at each other like, no, we're both two people going through a human experience, and I can respect what you do. Because I had a kid, he's like, man, you know, I've been rapping for years. You know, I don't think nobody nice. Some of these niggas in here though. I'm like, yeah, because you're on an even basis now. So like for me, what I teach kids is one, make each other comfortable. We don't disrespect each other. One of my nerd students, he just.
Do you think that's disrespectful to call him a nerd student?
No, I'm a nerd.
Okay.
I'm very proud. It's not derogatory at all.
But do you think? But all nerds aren't proud. They kind of look at it as like shameful. Not
maybe
shameful,
he there to make him proud about being a nerd.
Maybe he is. I just say someone's
over the last decade, a lot of black nerds, blurred specifically, have reclaimed the term the same way we did with the other N-word. Like no, I'm very proud to be a nerd.
I like nerds.
There's nothing shameful about it. So he's a very nerdy kid. We talk about it too. He's like, you're nerdy, I'm nerdy, so we're cool. And he just told us in a poem he wrote that he lost his virginity to an older girl over the summer. Wow. So, and sometimes that has been an uncomfortable conversation because a 13-year-old boy once came to me and said, I slept with this 19-year-old. I said, son, that's not a good thing. And I had, you know, there are young men who don't know that they're telling you a sexual assault story when they're telling you their first time. He's like, but I wanted it. I was like, that doesn't mean it should have happened.
Yeah. I realized, well, not realized, but I hear that's a lot of males' experiences.
Absolutely.
I heard a lot of men
because
say that.
Patriarchy will tell a young man, oh, you slept with an older woman? Good job. It's not this woman has done something, this woman has violated you or done something horrible to you. I had a young lady, she was, or they identified as lesbian when they were in my classroom. They were 16 and they were dealing with this woman who was 32. And I called this woman and I told her, you stay the fuck away from this child. You're sick. Gosh. You have problems. Stay the fuck away from this child. And she was like, why you do that? I said, how's your mother reacting about this? She's like, my mother mad too. I said, you ever wonder why both of us are upset? Yeah. Like why this 30-something-year-old woman messing with a 16-year-old? Don't got no car.
The mother even knew. Crazy. I would have figured the mother ain't know.
So the mother did know, but the mother didn't know what to do. So, you know, certain black mothers, they don't know how to respond to their child being LGBT. They're like, I'm not trying to disrespect you, so I'm gonna tiptoe around this. And I don't know, for her mother, and I talked to her mother's like, I don't know if 16-year-olds date 30-year-olds in the LGBT community.
I mean, I feel like the age is the age. Like, it's just,
but I mean, it's still double standards with that, man.
Really?
Yeah, because if you're a guy dating the older woman, they gonna look at it like it ain't nothing.
Some type of manipulation, like with that age gap, though. Like
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not, but it's still double standards.
Oh yeah, because the way and I've had to explain this to young black men all the time. I'm just like, bro, what's happening to you is not okay. And I know you think it's okay because you're a young man. You think this is good, but this is not good, and that woman is taking advantage of you. Yeah. So because of like some of these rough conversations, so when he told me that, now thankfully the girl was only like a year and a half older than him, but she was someone who was like, oh, cute little boy, and he's like feeling some type of way about that, but no one in the class laughed at him. Nobody made fun of him. We had a conversation. We talked about what he went through. We talked about safe sex. We didn't judge anybody. And like that, you do that, and then put poetry in it.
I was just saying that they need to have like a mental health class or something where they can have a safe space to talk about things and know how to process their emotions. So that's great. I thank you for the services you're doing with the kids because it's needed for sure. And you should really like branch out and be like at every single in the curriculum. I feel like because that's a safe space for them. They need that.
You know, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole. I would love for that to be in a curriculum. Yeah. But the problem with young black children loving themselves, that is counterproductive to the curriculum. The American education system does not lend itself to black people loving themselves.
Yeah.
Self-care when you're black isn't a thing in the public education system. I mean, the only thing we learn is you learn Martin Luther King, you learn civil rights, you learn slavery, and then there's Harriet Tubman, Rosa Parks, Madam C.J. Walker, and then everybody else is an accident. I worked at a school, I'm not going to say no names. They had a basement, and in that basement, I saw 100 copies of the autobiography of Malcolm X. And I said, what class is this being taught in? They said, none. I said, so this book is just sitting here, which means you purchased it and told people it was going to be a part of your curriculum, and then you lied. I worked at schools, and I said, it's Black History Month. This is the only month these kids get to learn about their history. When are you going to start teaching it? Teacher look at me and say, well, we behind. I said, okay, being behind means eventually you're going to teach it. So we're going to teach this in March, right? No, it's not going to happen. Your history is made to be unimportant. I challenged a teacher once, a white teacher at a school. And I said, I'm going to tell you kids facts about different historical Black people. Let's see if he knows any of them. And they said, well, do you know of anything? I don't. I said, yeah, that's right. Because he didn't learn history, he learned his story. It's his story, and he's telling you the story of white people, and that's what he studied and what he learned. What I learned was my story. And if you want to know your story, you can't listen to everything in this class. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy to know American history, I'm happy to know world history, I'm happy to know about World War II, I'm happy to know about knights and Japan and samurais and feudalism.
But it's more to it.
But there's more to us. Like, if you start school and the first thing they teach you from elementary school up, you know that we were the greatest inventors of all time.
Yes.
You know that you are God. You know, Black people be like, aliens made pyramids. You know why they say that shit? Because they can't figure out how Black people did it. You know, in the 70s, it wasn't a weird thing to see a kid play a guitar or be in a band. That's what Black people did. But they took the funding out of school, so the music programs were the first to go. So some guy was sitting and he started scratching a record until it made a goddamn sound, and now hip-hop is one of the highest grossing forms of music of all time. So Black ingenuity is the reason why we keep rising, but you don't teach that. Black history stops. After Martin Luther King, it stops. They added Barack Obama, and that's the end. They don't teach you about Khalid Muhammad. They stopped teaching Malcolm X. I've seen them stop teaching Malcolm X. They don't teach you about Farrakhan. They don't teach you about Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, Tupac. I'm in a classroom, and this teacher's like, you know, by golly, it's hard to teach these kids about poetry. I said, yes, because you keep teaching them about dead white men.
So, what you saying that you do think Kyrie should have posted the link?
I didn't say that at all. What I'm saying is the things that Kanye and Kyrie are saying, Professor Griff and Dr. Umar have been saying for the last 15 years. And if anybody is surprised or shocked by it, well, they should have picked up a book. But the problem with the curriculums in schools is that education is not geared to making Black people love themselves. So working mental health into a curriculum should be, especially since in the modern time we all know that this is an issue that many young people face.
Yeah, they take.
Yo, you remember how many crazy niggas would just be going on? You just be like, yo, what is wrong with him, bro? And you knew it was something deeper, cause you like, yo, this is more than you just mad about something today, nigga. Like, yo, and no, everybody's just like, oh, he's just a bad kid. He just wildin'. No, somebody.
What mental health was. We just thought niggas was crazy.
Facts. We were just like, yeah, that nigga crazy.
Exactly.
But no, because if Black people's mental health is taken care of, well, then they can focus on the more important things. And when you focus on the more important things, well, that's when your race rises. And when your race rises, that's something that this country very much doesn't want.
They don't want, because they've been taking care of their mental health for ever.
Exactly. You know how many little white boys, little Sarah and Ted, they be in therapy.
ADHD medication, or anxiety medication, on what's that other thing? Adderall.
And they're not ashamed of it.
They're not ashamed of it.
They're not ashamed of it. Black
They're
kids
like, you should get some too.
Yep, Black kids be like, I ain't taking that shit. But I'm gonna smoke this weed though.
They're very against therapy. I feel like
weed is from the earth.
I feel like we are. I feel like we are now at a era where people are seeing more therapists and more open. Yeah, like even our Black men have become more open to. Because
all of us need therapy.
Yeah,
all of us
definitely need therapy. And I love that for us.
I did a project. I do little mini experiments, little projects as an adult, just to see how things turn out. I was talking to this girl. She's not from Baltimore, and I joked.
She from?
Oh, she's from the Midwest.
Okay.
And I joked. I made a joke. It's not always a joke, but I was like, I got this gun on. So, you know, I was like, I just walked in the house. I had the piece on me, so I'm good. And she like, oh my God, you're carrying a gun? Oh my God, is this everything okay? And I said, damn, no woman has ever said that to me. And I said, is that scary to you? She said, yeah. So I do this thing. I get in the car with my cousin Cortina. I said, I got my gun in the book bag. Is that cool? She said, yeah, nigga, just don't pull it out. And I'm like, I go over the house of my daughter's mother, and I go to her, and I'm like, hey, I got this gun in the bag. Everything cool? She said, yeah, just keep that shit tucked in. My girl at the time, I go over her house. I say, hey, I got the gun in the bag. That's cool? She said, yeah, just don't pull that shit out. And I said, And each of them, I told them, y'all have all responded the exact same way. Because there's something different about the experience of Baltimore black women. I said, because for certain black women, they're like, oh my God, you have a gun on you, chill. My one homegirl, I did the same thing. I was like, I got the gun on me. She's like, and I asked her about I was told about the experiment. She's like, Jacob, she's like, my ex was a drug dealer. Nigga had the guns under the pillow. He thought niggas was coming for him every day. He'd wake up. What? She was like, this shit is not weird to me. But the fact that is a normal experience for a group of women. So because people are experiencing these different life experiences, we see things very differently in Baltimore. The way we go about doing things is very different. And when I did this, I realized that every black experience ain't our black experience.
Very true.
When I hear somebody say the most coolest shit I ever heard in my life, I'm just like, Like when Kanye talks, I think to myself, ain't nobody ever banged you in your mouth. You've never been punched in the mouth.
He had been punched in the mouth. Bro.
That's what you assume, right? Because we from Baltimore and most niggas been punched in the mouth. But the way he talk is like, ain't nobody ever punched you in the mouth. You ever, like, something men do, and E can attest to this. Something men do. We might bump into a nigga, complete accident, and we both go, excuse me, my bad, bro. They both go, yeah, my bad. Because it's Baltimore. Niggas been killed for less. So first thing we do is like, hey, it's all good, everything good. Just don't make this moment where it ain't gotta fucking be. Because we know this shit could lead to death. So when Kanye say some of the shit that he say, I'd be like, ain't nobody ever punched you in the mouth. Cause somebody gonna slap the shit out of you. If I said half the shit you was saying, somebody would slap the fuck out of me. So like, I think when we talk about like the black experience, we have to understand that many people's black experience ain't authentic to our black experience.
That's true though. Very true.
Shout out Baltimore.
Snapping ass.
That's just poetry. They snap.
Well, where do people can find you at?
The people can follow me everywhere but home. I am BLACKCHAKRA88 on Instagram and Twitter. I'm never on Twitter, but in case one day I'm super famous, I have one. You know, maybe I'll be a somebody right now. A little Baltimore buzzy. This Friday or next Friday, I have a show at Busboys and Poets. It's called, it's on St. Paul Street, the Busboys in Baltimore. The show is called Black Friday. I'm premiering a whole bunch of new poems, getting some shit ready for the next slam season. And you know, I haven't done a show in Baltimore in a while, so I thought it was important that I'm like, nah, come on everybody, hear all this new shit.
What's that date?
Okay, yeah.
That is November 25th.
November 25th.
It will be, yes ma'am, on St. Paul Street. It'll be from 7 to 9 p.m. I'm gonna have one of my students, she's a very talented student from Dunbar. She's gonna open up the show. I might have another poet open up, and then I'm gonna go. Jokes, poems, everything. Come see it. It's a great experience.
I hear him. Come see it. Pull up on him.
Yeah, because this nigga got it. He funny, yo. I know he give all the serious and the poems, but this nigga, you probably could be a comedian too, yo. Or maybe you just know how to control the stage, yo.
You could just do that. Poetic.
This nigga funny, yo.
Make his own lane for real.
I just grew up on chill mode.
When this nigga hosts, you funny, bro.
Yeah. Tend to say some wild shit out my mouth.
Well, thanks again for coming to see us.
Oh, he gonna close us out with something though, right?
Definitely. We always want to hear some more hot shit.
See, my corners are common for cocaine. Where they gun down lions, so cut me a low main. Where you'll find a rat dead in the streets of in low Maine. Where the cons are convicts and the pros are propane. Cause even good niggas get burnt by the slow flame. Where they inhale death and blow shame. You won't escape the harvest of this Carter, it's no Wayne. Hurt's the only thing that grows, it's no rain. Just God come to cry for the children with dope veins. Where they buy RIP shirts, blank frames, no name. Somebody face will eventually fill it this old game. Where niggas find Nirvana and end up a cold bang, damn. When the baby's a birth, the coat hang. Where I Django the freedom, I was broken, I broke chains. Where fathers can't stand the sights of their sons. Vampires with gold fangs, see the fronts up in front so they're leaving, there's no pain. But how a young nigga's supposed to have drive, but there's no lane. When wrestling with the streets, you meet the Undertaker with no cane. We break our backs to ride through these dark nights, we so bane. And all this blood splattered around me is leaving my soul stain. Drowning in oppression, I'm hoping the flows change. Transportation to hell, we call it the soul train. Imagine the whole train, rhyme with blown brains, means nothing. Cause niggas used to seeing this death and close Coast Range. All facts. Sites that you live with, you would be appalled at. What do you call that? Nigga, we all scrap. These shells, Keenan and Kells, get all that. Thank you.
I gotta clap for that, man.
Boy, something else, boy.
That boy's got talent.
Hey, son, nah, I know you was banging them. Never mind. Yeah.
Leave it
Hey,
to eat. Leave it
I'm
to
just
eat.
saying, you everybody got groupies, you know? Okay. She was drunk. But I want to thank you for coming out. You know, I appreciate you, man.
Thank you for having me, bro.
Yes, of course.
This shit you do is magical, man.
Definitely.
I ain't lying. I don't know how you remember all this shit. And
Come up with all this shit.
But the fucking, what's the word? Like, the way you perform this shit, man. The energy.
Yeah,
This shit
it's
is
crazy.
incredible, bro.
Different.
Definitely different.
Closing statements.
For me,
I mean, you here, right? You ain't here to be cute.
Definitely need to be cute.
I just want to say, everybody, you know, especially the kids, be yourself, push for your dreams, and do things. Figure out yourself for sure, and don't focus too much on what's going on in the world.
To piggyback off of that, I just would say believe in you. Believe that you can do all things that you want to do.
And all I'm gonna say is, bro, ain't nothing wrong with asking her to get that abortion.
Oh my God.
This All Things Go podcast, we out.
We out. Ain't nothing wrong with her getting that abortion.
Thank y'all for having me.